Quite often paragliding, when you're trying to get from point A to B, if you just glide straight, that might work out if you're lucky, but I think more often than not that could well put you on the ground, or certainly get you low and scrabbling and end up taking you a lot longer. So what you need to do is, so today what I'm really mainly aiming to do is to talk about some tips for general flying, thermaling, flying efficiently and safely. I'll be talking a bit about flying with on the rear risers and making the most out of that. I'm here at Devil's Dyke. Very flyable day. There's lots and lots of pilots here. It's the busiest I've seen it all year. I'm flying again the Ozone Photon size ML with the Impress 4 harness. So let's see how it goes. So, just launched Devil's Dyke, just flown out, looking along the ridge, and I've got lots and lots of thermal markers today. So there's lots and lots of wings in the air, showing me where the lift is. You can also see that it's generally buoyant, very lifty, buoyant day. So as I'm exploring along the ridge, I'm looking at all the other wings. If you watch them closely, you can start to see where pilots are going up and down relative to you, and that's your first gauge of where the better lift is or isn't. So here I found a nice thermal. There's this pilot on the blue wing here that's thermaling. Tip number 2, if you're soaring on a ridge in some breeze, then look up wind of view to see if pilots are climbing better up wind of view. If you drift back, like the pilot down there on the blue Nova glider there is doing, if you carry on thermaling back in a weaker thermal, what's going to happen is you just drift over the back of the hill and you don't climb as well. And then when you've topped out in your climb, you're pushing forward into wind and you end up losing out quite a lot. As you can see, he was up almost level with me a moment not very long ago, and now he's way down below me. Number 1 priority, keep a lookout for other pilots. Always look before you turn, and when I say look before you turn, it's no good just looking slightly over your shoulder. You have to crane your neck, look all the way around over your shoulder. So now as we're thermaling together, I'm looking at the other pilot. My primary objective is to keep so we don't get in each other's way. While I'm doing that, I'm kind of observing as we go round who's going up relative to who. At the moment we're staying fairly constant. Now he's climbing a bit better than I am. So now I'm readjusting my turn. I've dropped out of the side of that thermal. We seem to be climbing reasonably equally. It's looking sunny out in the valley. Seems to be a bit of a cumulus sort of forming out there. I'm going to talk a little bit about flying with the B risers. You can use them even at trim, just to fly a little actively and micro adjust your glide angle, and that does work. They're mainly made for flying with some bar on, so that you don't have to keep pumping up and down on the bar, and then you can fly with the glider actively. Alright, let's talk about gliding using the Bs. Take off the wraps, make sure you don't have any wraps. Hold the B bars. The B bars! Then I go on to the first step of the speed system. Second step, at the moment the air is very smooth. Notice on the Photon, on the bar there, the rear risers get lighter once you're on bar, which is nice. And I've definitely got a nice feeling of contact to the wing. I find with the bars you can move them directly up and down, or to the sides, but really if you want the most effect, then it's straight up and down, obviously, to get the best effect. And going into the lift, so I come off the bar. Now I'm in searching mode. I've no doubt if I was flying a lower performing wing, a wing that didn't have a good climb rate, I think I would notice that today, because the climbs haven't been very strong. As we know, it's more about where you put it and how well you climb, making the most out of the conditions. Primarily, I think then next is luck. For most of us mere mortals, they're not Kriegel Maurers, etc. There's a pretty big element of luck involved in our flying. That's why we have great days some days and bad days other days. And then next, it's down to the performance of the equipment. And speaking of the equipment, what I think is most important is that you have the right match of pilot to equipment. I feel really strongly that a pilot who's flying gear that they're really happy on, especially when the conditions get a bit testing, is going to outperform the pilot on the higher performing glider that's not happy on it every time. And I can see a nice looking cloud up there. Okay, so what I'm doing now is, doesn't look, I can see a load of spread out above. I don't know if you can see with this base here, but there's like this light grey cloud, and you can sort of see it's just spread out. I think that's shutting things off over there. But up here above me I can see a nice cloud. So I'm going to push to that cloud, and of course the thermal, if it's coming up to it, will be upwind of it. Yeah, not getting lift yet. There we go, getting something there. Oh, that's a bit better. Still less than a metre a second, but better than 0.1 or 2. Yeah. Now can you see how we had there was loads of spread out before, and we still have it around, and in the distance that way it's really looking like a lot of cloud cover. But what's happening is the spread out shut off the thermals, and it sort of kills off a lot of the thermic activity, which then means that the cloud production reduces, and then they start to break up and we get some more sun going through. It's quite a typical pattern on a day with spread out, where the thermals, the clouds lift up and then reach the inversion, the temperature inversion, and just spread out. That's where the name comes from. It's quite typical for that day to have those kind of cycles. Okay, yeah, I'm finding a bit of lift. I'm just flying straight in it, feeling the pushes and shoves through the risers and the glider. There's a bit of a lift. That feels a bit better. So now the next bit I'm doing is I'm exploring. And generally I do turn upwind first of all, unless there's something else that indicates it might be cross or downwind. But if in doubt, I turn upwind. Now as I'm going around, I'm trying to do a bit of a searching turn. And there's better lift, so I straighten up a moment, but not too long, because I don't think it's very big, and if I go too long, I'll end up just falling out the other side of the thermal. So what I'm doing instead is just straightening up a little bit for a couple or a few seconds, and then turning back round and gradually adjusting my turn. There we are, better lift again, straighten up a moment, dropped out of it, coming back. I think I'm going to straighten up a little bit more downwind this time. When it's lifty like this and there's lots of cloud, what you can do when you're worried about going into cloud is explore the area of lift, and if you're going up a bit too much under the cloud, then what you can do then is just fly, continue to fly towards the edge of the cloud like that until you come back out again. Of course you have to bear in mind that sometimes there's more lift after that, but And at least that way you know you've got an idea of where the edge of the cloud is and the edge of the lift. Wish I could see some birds climbing. So here I'm just searching around under this cloud. There we go, there's a climb. Now I'm going to just turn gradually round into wind, straight up, going nicely into the climb. Clearly the cloud is forming nicely this way, so I'd say that the general area of lift is in that direction. So I'm going to search that way a bit more. Quite often paragliding, when you're trying to get from point A to B, if you just glide straight, that might work out if you're lucky, but I think more often than not that could well put you on the ground, or certainly get you low and scrabbling and end up taking you a lot longer. So what you need to do is work out looking at the sky and working out allowing for the wind, which is going to be the best way to get there. And it's a game of snakes and ladders. You've got to try and get up. You need to get up high before you can go where you want. So you've got to find the best bit of lift, get up nicely, and then glide off towards your point B.